What's up, you guys? If you're anything like me right now in this current moment, you're still riding the high of Alex Pereira beating Magomed Ankalaev, and we're going to be extending, hopefully. I mean, dude, I don't even know what I expect of this main event. Charles Oliveira is going to fight Mateusz Gamrot this weekend on October 11th. This will be happening in Rio de Janeiro at Pharmacy Arena. This is going to be the UFC Fight Night Brazil card. And people complained, right, about the Apex events and the quality of those cards. But now we're just going to different countries and we're getting glorified Apex events just in like places that aren't the Apex. This is not a good card. I was looking through the lineup and we're going to talk about it right now. This event is kind of bad. So go ahead and drop a like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to get to predicting all, I think, 13 fights that are on this event. So yeah, let's start with the prelims and we'll move on to the main card. This meme here, this meme template is kind of like a curse. Whenever I use this to describe like the fates of fighters that I'm sure are going to lose, it usually doesn't end up shaking out that way. So maybe Charles Oliveira will get lucky and I just jinxed him so that he wins against Mateusz Gamrot. Yeah, before we get to that main event, we're going to have to watch like a bunch of different uninteresting fights and not fall asleep. I'll be on stream, so I mean that's never really an issue for me. As long as I'm live, it's a very low possibility that I do fall asleep. But man, it's kind of like picking your favorite form of excrement here in a fight between Saimon Oliveira versus Luan Lacerda at flyweight. There's just so many different like flyweight matchups that don't mean anything. Saimon Oliveira has fought 3 times in the UFC and has lost all 3 of those fights. He has an opportunity to go 0-4 here. Luan Lacerda also doesn't have any UFC wins, if I'm not mistaken. I think that he might have beaten a guy on the Contender Series. Luan got beaten up by Cody Stamann in Brazil, so he's lost in his home country. And he also got TKO'd by Damone Blackshear trying to attack heel hooks in that fight. I'm expecting this to be like a WMMA fight. The possibility of this just being a very stinky decision for whoever wins the fight is super high, I believe. Maybe we'll get a finish out of it, hopefully. Because I don't want us to be watching a bunch of decisions, man. Not on a card like this. Soncora, Daniel Marcos, I think his name is, and then also David Martinez. Those aren't bad losses by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not who Saimon Oliveira lost to, it's how he lost those fights. He's getting dominated and not having any big moments in them. And like, yeah, Oliveira is going to have the benefit of being more active than Lacerda for him as like something that favors his victory in this fight, but he's been losing. Luan Lacerda hasn't fought in 2023, but who knows what he's been cooking up in that time, so Saimon Oliveira had taken 2 years off since 2023 before coming back and losing to David Martinez earlier this year. So, I mean, it's like, I don't want to say it's 50-50. I'm going to pick Luan Lacerda to win this fight just because he does show more promise in the grappling, so he at least has a path to victory. Saimon Oliveira just gets pieced up in his fight, so that's enough for me to go off of to assume that Luan Lacerda wins. This is the opener. Let's move on to the next fight. Man, women's strawweight is actually so difficult to predict because they're all largely so bad and they never do what you expect them to do on paper. But the thing that I'm going to give the most credence to in making this prediction is going to be Julia Polastri being Brazilian. This is a Brazil card, so they're going to want to see their home team fighters win. So I'm leaning Julia Polastri already. And also, Karolina Kowalkewicz is 39 years old, and I can't just overlook that either. Aside from the fact that she hasn't won a fight since 2023, and she's been pretty active in competing. I think she's on like a 2 or 3 loss streak at this point. This is all the insight I really need, because Karolina Kowalkewicz's last decision losses have just been like wounded animal defeats. And lately she's been looking like she just needs to get somewhere and sit down, because this just isn't for her anymore. Julia Polastri herself doesn't really have many notable accomplishments. She beat Corey McKenna last year in a split decision, and that's her only UFC win. Julia Polastri is either winning or losing decisions. Every WMMA fighter tends to either win or lose decisions. I would be very surprised if Karolina Kowalkiewicz doesn't lose a decision here. She may even get subbed. Jessica Penne was able to get her with an armbar, I think, in the year 2023. That was her last submission loss. So yeah, I'm going to pick Julia Polastri to win this fight. This is kind of like the people's main event here. Everything that Muhammad Usman has been through up until now. Victories over Hamdi Abdelwahab. Victories over Junior Tafa. Losses to Mick Parkin. Losses to Thomas Petersen. It's all been leading up to him getting heel hooked by Valter Walker in this fight. Usman isn't even half the wrestler that his brother is. I mean, we saw that in his last fight. And whenever he starts to get leg kicked, he has none of the wrestling and the knees of his brother, which is a huge problem for him at 265 because heel hooks apply pressure to the tendons in your knees. So who even knows what happens if Valter Walker actually does attempt that sub. The reason why I keep mentioning the heel hook is because Walter Walker's offense with this submission, it's like it's so crazy. It's so predictable as to what he's gonna be attempting whenever he does try to set up this lock. And people see the bucket and they still can't do anything about it. It's so funny. He can get any level of outside the rankings fighter with the heel hook as long as he just varies the approach as he's going for the sub. If he uses a different entry each time, he can definitely pull off a heel hook against any of these dudes. And if it fails, then he could switch to like a knee bar or a straight ankle lock or a toe hold, some type of leg sub. This guy might just be like the leg sub maestro at the end of the day. If heel hooks start failing, he'll just move on to a different one. Walter Walker is kind of turning into like a Khabib level threat because people are avoiding the ground with him at all costs. So what that's going to do is it's going to set up his striking. If he's been working on any level of boxing or kickboxing, which I mean, yeah, he's been in the lab with Johnny Walker hashing that out to make it so that he's a better striker. I mean, he's not really showing many of these skills whenever he's in his fights because he ends up just playing the most deadly game of footsies with them in the cage. But compounding how dynamic the heel hook offense of Walter Walker is, the way that Mo Usman was toddling around after a couple of leg kicks in the Hamdi Abdelwahab fight, and the fact that they're in Brazil, I am going to pick Walter Walker, even potentially by a knockout to win this fight. I think that a round one submission is more probable. This guy is not losing in Brazil, mate. So I'm going to select Walter Walker to beat Mo Usman here. I can actually say without lying to anybody that I'm genuinely excited to watch this fight at the very least. All right, next we have Lucas Rocha versus Stewart Nicoll at flyweight. I mean, dude, these types of fights, this has got to be the worst Brazil card I've ever predicted. Like, on paper, these fights are bad. Like, they're not good. I don't think that these fights are going to be on anything. I mean, they might be fun to watch. I mean, it's MMA, dude. It's really not hard to deliver an interesting MMA fight. But it's like, man, these fights, dude, they may feel laborious to get through like we're doing work. I mean, these guys are both coming off of a loss. Lucas Rocha, he lost to Clayton Carpenter, who's also going to be on this card. And then Stewart Nicoll, he lost to Jesus Aguilar. And he got guillotined by that guy in that fight. So I'm not going to do these like insane mental gymnastics to be like, oh yeah, well, Lucas Rocha is Brazilian. But that doesn't mean that just because he's in Brazil and that he's fighting a guy who's also not that good, the guy who's not that good isn't just going to have this breakout performance. It's not. I mean, bro, Lucas Rocha is going to win this fight. I'm not going to try to convince myself otherwise. I mean, Jesus Aguilar, he's on his way up, I guess. But I mean, look at Clayton Carpenter. He beat Lucas Rocha, and then right afterwards he fought Tagir Ulanbekov, and he lost a decision in that fight, but he didn't do bad. Rocha at least made it into the second round with Clayton Carpenter. And yeah, he was cheating a lot, like leading up to this RNC being sunk in. He was grabbing the cage, toes and fingers in the cage, grabbing the glove, all types of. He was like even he was like scratching Clayton Carpenter's eyes trying to get out of this choke, and then he ended up getting squeezed. But I mean, Stewart Nicoll just got beat up and subbed by Jesus Aguilar. So I mean, there's less footage on that guy because his last performance just was not eventful. Jesus Aguilar in that guillotine is like Walter Walker in the heel hook. This dude is literally like Mexican Dustin Poirier. He's always jumping the gilly, but it never really works. As of late, it just doesn't work. And it worked against Stewart Nicoll. So that just is a testament to a low level of grappling on the behalf of Nicoll, since even like rocked guys are able to get out of this guillotine, because even though it's like a signature move of Jesus Aguilar, I haven't seen it finish anyone since, I mean, this is the first time I've heard of it finishing anybody. I'm sure he has other guillotines on his record. I know he does, but I haven't seen it firsthand. And I've watched him fight live about 3 or 4 times at this point. And he's always going for the guillotines. And he's losing fights jumping the guillotine. And it just doesn't work. So the fact that Stewart Nicoll got tapped in it, that's kind of sketch. I'm going to pick Lucas Rocha since, I mean, to be fair, he didn't really look bad in his fight against Clayton Carpenter. It was just a grappling, but whenever it was a stand-up affair, he looked pretty sharp. So I am going to pick him to win via round 2 TKO in this fight. Hopefully we do get an early stoppage, even sooner than round 2, but that's what I'm going to go with for this one. We're going to move on to the next fight. Oh, Lord God, help us. We have a women's bantamweight fight, Irina Alekseeva versus Beatriz Mesquita. Debuting jiu-jitsu fighter from Brazil. I mean, dude, this is the thing, right? This is my theory. Home team grapplers in the striker grappler matchup, they win in WMMA. We had Montague in Australia. We had Montserrat Hindon in Mexico. And now we have Beatriz Mesquita in Brazil. She is going to be fighting Irina Alekseeva. Irina Alekseeva had a horrible fight with Claudia Segula, and she lost. And I think she was even getting out grappled in certain positions in that fight. And Segula is like a kickboxer. Like, she shouldn't have been able to do what she did to Irina Alekseeva. Beatriz Mesquita, wicked jiu-jitsu practitioner. Not that that really means anything in MMA largely. It does more so mean something in WMMA or in like heavyweight, but I mean, we'll go with that, right? I mean, she's wearing a gi right there, dude, so she may be fried, dude. I really don't know. I mean, I kind of do. Irina Alekseeva, it's not like she's like fighting a world beater in her debut. Mesquita has accomplished a lot in very few fights in LFA. I think that she became champion there. So this is going to be her transition into the UFC now. Don't make me look stupid. Like, I'm going to pick Beatriz Mesquita. I'm not intimating that we have another Mackenzie Dern on our hands, but I mean, pure grapplers tend to be more successful in WMMA than they are in male weight classes. So we're going to go with that. We're going to lean into the fact that she's Brazilian as well. We're going to pick her to win via round 1 submission and to get some fans. Hopefully not put on a really bad fight that we don't care about and that we'll just forget immediately because she lost. Not an Elise Pereira debut. Please, God, don't do this to me. Alekseeva's 1-2 in the UFC with her only win coming over Stephanie Egger, if you remember her. I mean, she's gotta lose this fight, right? Like, she's being fed to Beatriz for a free win in Brazil. So, round 1 submission for Mesquita is going to be my pick here on medium to low confidence. And that's just because you can never be sure about this WMMA stuff. I hate whenever they put more than 2 fights of like female fighters on a card, bro, because it's like, how am I supposed to accurately predict these fights and the way that they go? I got Macy Chiasson versus Yana Santos wrong last week, especially women's bantamweight. It's like, dude, it's over. I'm very torn here for Vitor Petrino versus Thomas Petersen at heavyweight because I would say it's blob meta, but if you look at both of these fighters' last weigh-in weights, they're around the same, 250 pounds. Vitor Petrino, it just looks completely different whenever he gets up to 250 than Thomas Petersen. That might actually be a photo of him from light heavyweight there. But Vitor Petrino, he's a big boy now. When he has all the skills that he possessed as a 205er, the grappling, he's also a pretty decent striker as well and has KO finishes on his record. Thomas Petersen is largely just going to smudge people under his big old belly at heavyweight. And that works for him too whenever he's able to do it. Vitor Petrino, we didn't really learn much about his ability to grapple blobs in his debut because he fought Austin Lane, and Austin Lane, he's a tall guy and he's large for heavyweight. Like, he's a tall man, like big wingspan, but I mean, he's not a blob. So this is an entirely different fight that he's going to need to approach with an entirely different strategy in order to win. Thomas Petersen is a big dude. He's going to be density maxing, but I think that Vitor Petrino could definitely catch him lacking because Thomas Petersen's been fighting dudes like Mo Usman. He's been fighting guys like Dontel Mays who can't grapple, and so he's able to do whatever he wants with them on the ground. He's able to ragdoll these people. Vitor Petrino may come in with the skill of a 205er and just bulldoze Thomas Petersen. I would love to see it. I'm going to lean into the fact that he's Brazilian as well here. But another thing to consider, though, as far as Petrino and how he may win this fight, is the fact that Shamil Gaziev opted to not go to the ground with Thomas Petersen and to keep the fight standing, and he knocked him out. Vitor Petrino has KO wins over Modestas Bukauskas in 2023, and he also knocked out Rodolfo Bellato to get his contract on the Contender Series, so I will put weight on that. I think that he will probably get a knockout win over a submission win against Thomas Petersen because Thomas Petersen, I mean, he's not like this certified, like, crazy grappling threat, but I mean, he does have some stripes here, and I think that the path of least resistance is going to be to win a stand-up fight for Vitor Petrino. I think he could get a knockout there, so I will predict him winning via round 2 knockout in this fight, and if he doesn't get blobbed on, he'll likely be a better grappler too, so I mean, a submission is always going to be there for him, or winning comfortably by decision through grappling is another possibility, but this is a good aptitude test for Vitor Petrino moving forward in heavyweight. How do you deal with these fat dudes? If he does a good job, he's going to be well on his way to being ranked. This is actually going to be maybe a more interesting flyweight fight than the other one. I think that the other one actually has more of a likelihood of ending in finish, though. So we'll see what this type of results this fight produces. But Jafel Filho versus Clayton Carpenter at flyweight. This is a matchup between two guys who aren't the most entertaining to watch. Largely, if you're a worse grappler than Jafel Filho, he'll end up tying you up on the ground and submitting you. But if you are a guy with stripes on the floor and you know what you're doing in the jiu-jitsu and in the wrestling, you'll just stalemate with him and he'll either lose or win a decision. and it'll be very narrow, his losses and his wins against other grapplers. So that's why I'm thinking that there is going to be no finish here. Clayton Carpenter, as I had said before, he beat Lucas Rocha, got a fight with Tagir Ulanbekov, had some moments in that fight. Didn't look like he was completely outclassed, even though Khabib was in Tagir Ulanbekov's ear telling him exactly how to win the fight. Filho just got done getting worked by Alan Nascimento. Nascimento, I think he even missed weight. This guy is like a dude who fights at flyweight, but he needs to go up to bantamweight. I'm not sure if his next fight will be at bantamweight. Alan Nascimento, he just out-grappled Jafel Filho, and he won a decision that way. I mean, Clayton Carpenter has a good pedigree of accomplishments from the regional scene. I was looking through his Tapology. He has a lot of pretty solid wins there. His only loss is coming to a fighter from Team Khabib, so I don't think that that means that he's terrible by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to pick the American to win in Brazil. This may be a wrong prediction, I'm not going to lie to you, but we're going to root for the American here. And that's something that I'm never going to regret. All right, so we're on to the main card now. Every single time I close my eyes, I see this. Ilie Topuria is living life just like a normal guy, like a normal rich influencer on Instagram. And whenever I see him hitting mitts and stuff, I just think about this. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the champion, huh? Oh, how'd he get the belt? Oh yeah, right. Charles is fighting this weekend. Oh man. So what do we got? Lucas Almeida versus Michael Aswell at featherweight. Lucas Almeida, it says Lucas Oliveira right there. I don't know about that one. It's so weird how that goes. On the Tapology profiles of these fighters, their names will be one thing on the UFC website, and it'll be something completely different on the Tapology website. I don't know why. Why is it Oliveira? Like, that's so weird. His name probably is Lucas Almeida. It's probably like Lucas Oliveira Almeida or Almeida Oliveira, and then he just... I don't know. Maybe he just decided that he was going to be Almeida one day, and now he's Almeida. Maybe it's the same last name, and I'm just not tapped in. But I mean, let's talk about Michael Aswell. Michael Aswell, he's a featherweight. He lost to Bogdan Grad on the Contender Series, and then they call him on short notice to fight at lightweight, up a weight class against Balaji Oki. And they're always having Balaji Oki fight up against like these featherweights, right? These blown up featherweights who are just like filling in. These short notice 145ers who he's just so much larger than and can't get grappled by and can beat up. And he didn't really even beat Michael Aswell up that badly, and he showed some pretty decent skills. I think in his proper weight class, given some time after this Contender Series performance, he'll have a bit more success. Lucas Almeida just recently lost to Danny Silva, who was the guy who got beaten by Kevin Vachejos. And that was a crazy fight. It was a crazy fight to watch, but Lucas Almeida didn't display a high amount of skills. His only win in his last 4 fights, Lucas Almeida, is against Timmy Kwamba, which, I mean, that's not a horrible win in all fairness. Almeida, though, in his last 4, outside of getting that win against Timmy Kwamba, he's been decisioned, he's been choked, he's been knocked out. So Michael Aswell is not going to be fighting a Balaji Oki level threat. And, I mean, dude, we saw Balaji Oki have some hands on him, dude. I mean, very little grappling, and that's your path to victory against him, but you have to be strong enough to implement those game plans. Mason Jones was able to cling to life and then actually get in there and hip toss and get a TKO from out grappling him, but Lucas Almeida is not going to be posing that same knockout threat in the early going of a fight that Balaji Oki has against these guys who are coming up from a lower weight class. But even then, Michael Aswell is still always good for a scrap, so I think that I'm going to pick him to win this fight. Another American, he will get it done in Brazil, Aswell via decision, lock it in. Let's go to the next fight. Alright, so Ricardo Ramos versus Kaan Ofli. Kaan Ofli, I'm still so hung up on the way that he was knocked out in his UFC debut against Myron Santos. That was one of the worst KOs that I've ever watched live. It was funny, but it was bad. Ricardo Ramos, we just got done talking about him on our spinning elbow ranking video. We talked about his 2 entries there. I mean, Ricardo Ramos has finishing capabilities. He just lost the fight to Shep Mariscal. Shep Mariscal is a really good fighter, and I mean, to not get finished by him demonstrates that you have at least some aptitude in the striking and a level of durability, since he is going to land flush, and you have to be able to keep yourself safe from Shep Mariscal, or else you're going to lose, and you're going to get finished. I think that both of those 2 things that I mentioned prior, though, the KO aptitude of Ricardo Ramos with strikes like spinning elbows, and the fact that Kaan Ofli has been put on a shirt before, I think this makes this fight have sleepy KO written all over it, in my opinion. I think that Ricardo Ramos is going to score this knockout. Kaan Ofli just got done getting out-grappled by Muhammad Naimov. This was a snoozer, and I could totally see Kaan Ofli getting slumped again by a fighter with another potent KO threat like Ricardo Ramos. So I'm going to hope for a crazy finish in this one, because we're definitely going to need it at this point in the card. This is going to be a slow one, I'm telling you. I don't want to put that out into the air, but I have this really sinking feeling that this is not going to be the most entertaining card for our viewership. So yeah, I'm going to pick Ricardo Ramos to win via round 2 KO, please. Please. Alright, next we have Jhonata Diniz versus Mario Pinto at heavyweight. Jhonata Diniz is the bad man who hurt my dear, beloved, goozy Alvin Hines. So I want to see Mario Pinto avenge that loss for my boy since he's serving a steroid suspension and won't be able to come back until next year. Mario Pinto and Valter Walker fighting on the same card but not against each other pretty much confirms that they have plans to build each of these guys individually into ranked contenders before they have them meet each other, because the last call that Valter Walker made was to Mario Pinto after he beat Kennedy and Zechiku. Walker and Pinto are, in my mind right now, the best prospects at 265, and each of them are about 1 or 2 wins before they're ranked. So we'll see what the future holds as far as that matchup still happening. I would love to see it, but both of them still have a little bit more to prove. But I don't see either of these fighters getting rim packed before they do get numbers next to their name. So Jhonata Diniz being match made with Mario Pinto doesn't really scare me or make me want to shy away from picking Mario Pinto to win via round 1 KO. You see it written there. I think that Mario Pinto is a really solid boxer, and he's probably the best KO artist that we have at 265 whenever we're talking about prospects. So, I mean, I think that he's going to be able to continue hard carrying Portuguese MMA, Mario Pinto, and also avenge Alvin Goozy Hines in one fell swoop here. I'm going to go with the Mario Pinto round 1 KO here. Let's move on. I get that fighters don't have to accept fights. You know, they don't have to take everything that the UFC gets them, but they get preferential treatment whenever they never say no to stuff. But look at what being a company man has gotten Vicente Luque up until this point. Beaten up on countless occasions since the Jeff Neal loss, and a brain bleed in that fight even. This guy is taking matchups with other people who will hurt him so badly every single time, and I get so afraid to watch Vicente Luque fight at this point. Whenever Big Marcel or Burnt MMA posts like a new announcement for Vicente Luque, a fight announcement, I get so nervous every time now. Feels like I just read that my son is getting drafted to go fight in a war, bro. Vicente Luque does have the Darce choke that he can attack on certain people, but Joel Alvarez largely only has a vulnerability to grappling whenever we're dealing with super elite guys like Arman Tsarukyan, you know? I don't think that Vicente Luque is just going to come out and just double leg this dude and control him for the entire duration of the fight. Granted, Joel Alvarez used to be a 155er and he's moving up to 170. He's going to adjust perfectly to this weight class. They really are not doing Vicente Luque any favors with this matchmaking. They gave Vicente Luque Themba Garimbo. He beats Themba Garimbo easily, so they're like, okay, now Kevin Holland. And I guess Kevin Holland's a more winnable fight than this. But, I mean, he still lost to Kevin Holland. And now they're giving him Joel Alvarez as a debuting fighter at 170. And it's like, bro, what are you trying to do to my boy Vicente Luque? Like, are you trying to kill him, man? Like, legitimately. I don't know why Vicente Luque isn't calling for fights with guys like Ponzinibbio or Morono at this point. Like, dude, Vicente Luque is still acting like he has like a title run left in him, man. That ship has sailed. It's over. So, like, we need to get on some more on-level matchmaking. He's going to get knocked out in this fight, and it's not going to be ceremonious at all. It's just going to be sad. He's in the UFC so that these up-and-coming guys can get wins off of sparking him. And it's not even something that any of us really like to see. I don't enjoy it. So yeah, Alvarez is going to cold my boy Vicente Luque in round 1, and it's going to feel horrible. I'm not looking forward to watching this go down. Next is Davison Figueiredo versus Montel Jackson. Figgy is 40 years old and coming off of a loss where he got his knee popped by Corey Sanhagen. So, I mean, he's not 40 yet, but he's like rapidly approaching 40. He's barreling towards the age of 40, doing 120 miles per hour. And this is a scary fight against a dude like Montel Jackson, who's been on a pretty solid run himself and is young. He's 33. Montel Jackson hasn't lost in 5 years, since the year 2020. And he's gotten really good wins over Damone Blackshear and Daniel Marcos most recently. I don't think that Figueiredo is going to be able to rely on his strength advantages to out-grapple Montel Jackson. So I think that he's going to need a pocket exchange with this dude and knock him out if he does want to win. And that's scary because think back to the Cody Garbrandt fight whenever Davison Figueiredo was newly made a bantamweight. Like, Cody Garbrandt was piecing up Davison Figueiredo before he started wrestling. Maybe the grappling will be there against Montel Jackson for Davison Figueiredo, but I'm genuinely concerned for my boy Deus de Guerra here. I don't want to see him get knocked out, especially if we're coming off of the heels off Vicente Luque getting chinned by Alvarez. I can't see both of these dudes get sparked in the same night. And then Charles loses afterwards. Like, man, I can't. I gotta feel good, man. Like, this can't happen. Montel Jackson has 7 years of UFC experience, having gotten to the organization in the year 2018. He's going to be fighting an ex-champion in Davison Figueiredo, a top 10 bantamweight who's been on a slide. This is like a recession in his career, Davison Figueiredo. So, oh man. I don't want to imagine a UFC where Davison Figueiredo is no longer viable as a contender in any weight class that we're talking about. But I mean, this isn't 2020 anymore. So, one of the pro fighters out of the gym that I train at, Andre Ewell, he said that Montel Jackson is his favorite fighter right now. I kind of believe the hype as well. I'm not like too influenced by the conversation that we had about this dude. He said that that's like his favorite UFC fighter right now. Like for his money, that's like the best bantamweight. So, I mean, he has some really good things on tape, Montel Jackson. I wouldn't go as far as to say like the best fighter in the UFC, but he's a very slept on contender at the very least. He's been winning, and they've been good wins. So I think that he'll continue the streak against Davison Figueiredo. He'll win a decision. I can't predict he's going to knock out my boy Figgy. Like, my heart just can't take this damage. All right, Oliveira versus Gamrot in the main event. Charles Oliveira, I've discussed this before, that he's being cut a break here in the scheduling of this main event for the Brazil card. Not necessarily due to the fact that he's going to win now for sure as like a guaranteed thing. I just think how he would lose this fight is a lot more merciful than how Fiziev would do him if they did actually go through with that as the main event. You want to talk about things that my heart can't take. I don't have the nerves anymore to watch Charles Oliveira get into these high-octane striking matches against these guys who put hands on him, have him pull guard, and then get back up and then get in the fight. Dude, like, that was such a crazy emotional roller coaster whenever I was invested in watching Charles win. Every single time the fight would be the same thing. He would get dropped so bad, and then he would do that thing where he, like, lays on his back like this and then pulls guard basically and then has to get back up, and whenever he does, he comes out swinging and he gets far ahead in the fight. Takes a little rest break down there, but it always looks so much worse than it actually was in real time. I don't think that Charles Oliveira is like a significantly better striker than Mateusz Gamrot. I mean, he's definitely has an advantage on the feet, but as far as the grappling goes, I think that Gamrot will be able to diffuse the bottom game of Charles Oliveira, similarly to how Arman was able to do the same thing in their fight. In my eyes, Gamrot's kind of a fighter who can only beat himself. Low IQ is the downfall of Gamrot's career in recent years against Beneil Dariush, against Dan Hooker. Why is he not grappling? Because he can grapple with anyone in this division, but there's a tentativeness in certain matchups for him to like actually take shots and to secure takedowns whenever it would suit him best to do that. I think that Gamrot understands in this fight what he stands to gain if he wins, so I don't think that he's going to be taking many chances or doing anything weird to jeopardize this opportunity for himself. I think that Dariush and Hooker versus Gamrot would have been completely different fights if Gamrot wrestled earlier. I think that one of the first things that Mateusz Gamrot is going to do to open this fight is going to be shoot on Charles Oliveira and get a takedown. He's going to complete it, and then from there, that will set the precedent of how the rest of the fight is going to go. Because Charles Oliveira cannot be given an opportunity to knock out Mateusz Gamrot, because he might, especially if Mateusz Gamrot comes out careless like he did in the Dan Hooker fight, he might get winged by Charles Oliveira. An Oliveira dub, I'm not going to lie to you, especially after last weekend with Alekseeva winning, it would purify my soul. Quite frankly, it would purify my soul, and it would make me feel like I would start ascending if Charles Oliveira did win, but I think that ship has sailed. Charles Oliveira is in a position now where you cash him in as a guy who people beat to get to the belt. And I think this is like probably the last run at him doing this, because he's going to lose his top contendership if he does lose to Gamrot. If Gamrot shows out and he finishes the fight and he doesn't just pull a decision like I'm thinking that he's going to, you give him a title shot next for sure. Since things are so like up in the air as far as who's going to be fighting next, it seems like they're going to go with Ilia Topuria versus Justin Gaethje. Yeah, do that. I've been saying that that's something that they should also follow through with. But afterwards, Mateusz Gamrot is going to be right there. If he beat Charles Oliveira, give him the next shot. So yeah, Gamrot via decision is going to be my prediction here. Those are going to be my picks for UFC Brazil. Let's go over the predictions right now. So yeah, those are going to be all my predictions right there. Next week we have Brendan Allen versus Rainer de Ritter in the main event of the Vancouver card. I want to see some Golden Freddy's KOs either this week or next week. That's all I'm in it for. I want to see the Golden Freddy suit pose. Somebody's got to hit that this weekend for sure. Maybe even Charles, dude. And I'm still thinking about the way that Ilia Topuria did Charles. Like, I can't escape the visions of that happening. Bro, that was such a bad knockout. I can't believe that this man is already turning around to fight again. No matter who it's against. Like, why are you fighting, dude? Like, we watched you get absolutely murked by Ilya Taporia. And that's like less than 4 months ago. Like 90 days and some change, maybe 90 days. I can't even confirm if it's 3 months or not. Absolutely ridiculous, dude. So yeah, please do like, comment, and subscribe if you made it to this point in the video. I'm going to catch you fellas in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Peace out.